Hey, what's up? I'm Angel Maggot. Welcome to Patreon. Welcome to Blender. If this is your first time using Blender, that's kind of what I'm gonna make this video about. A little intro about what I know about Blender, which is a little limited, but we'll sort of get set up into what I plan to be working on, what maybe I can teach you, if there is a you watching. Blender won't look like this when you download it. So I probably should have just removed my shit to start, but so Blender is usually just grey, like very basic, boring looking. I put this theme on because I really hate the grey. It is not a necessity for working in Blender. I feel like it helps. I like it. This one is the Frutiga Era theme. I can't remember who made it, but I will pop that up. You go to just look up Blender themes if you can type. I don't have a PC at the moment. I used to, but I'm working on a laptop, so we're going to be using the latest version of Blender, which is 5.1.0. You do not have to use the new version of Blender. I think back till like 4.2, basically they all kind of work similar. There's obviously differences. There's a lot of like upgrades and whatnot. But I fucking work today. No internet, my ass. Now data's gone. This is a great day to do setup. I don't know why. We moved into a new house and it did not have internet here, so we had to wait months to get internet. And now that we've had it for a couple months, it just doesn't work very often. I don't know why. Alright, so this one is Blender extensions. You'll find tons. I think most of them, they'll say what version. Like I often use pastel pink. But it came 404. I feel like it makes it a little bit nicer. It's not too like harsh on your eyes. Some of them that are really bright kind of struggle with. Oh, okay. Unsupported. Oh, I see. Compatible with 5. My bad. So I used to use this on earlier versions, but sometimes when they're not compatible, it just means that it won't be like all pink. It might have like some sections that are grey. Which can look a bit shit, but whatever. Most of these I've used on earlier versions. I do love this. I'm just gonna get this one. I just find that having, whether or not you feel like you need a darker layout, if that's like easier on your eyes, or if you prefer to have it more like bright, engaged, you know, there's something for everything. But so I use this one. I think it's cute, and it's bright enough that I feel like I can, you know, see everything easily. But you can just drag and drop it into Blender or manually download it. On the same site, you're also going to find your add-ons, which I will go over a couple. So this is when you go to edit and you go down to the bottom. You'll go into add-ons here. I think they've changed it to where you go to get extensions, which connects to Blender's library on that site. And I think it's supposed to be easier, but I had to spend hours and I had to get my housemates help to go over this because some shit was just not working. So I don't blame you if you don't use that. The basic ones that you need, which again you can get through going to get extensions, and you will need to be connected to your internet for that, to download them from that website automatically just through Blender's internal system, or go through, you add the add-ons where you go to drop down, whichever way you do it. I'm used to using the manual one, but I don't know, I'm not a fan of what they've done. But the ones, most of them are already there, so things like Rigify, which we'll probably be using, is in there. You just gotta make sure it's ticked on. There's a couple that I'm not sure if they were there with the new version. The main one being Node Wrangler is in there, so you just tick that, which just allows you to do some shortcuts when you're doing shading node. Blender Kit online asset library, you will need, or at least I use it a lot. If you're gonna kind of follow these tutorials, I'd recommend having it. It's similar to this like internal interface where it's connecting to BlenderKit, which I just found out today is now called BlendKit. So you just go to download one. Pretty sure you can do a Mac as well. It gives you a full thing of like how to do that. It basically just gives you access to everything on here internally through Blender. Here you'll see this. The way I usually do it is pick one of these, pick the random texture. You will have to have an account. It's free, so you just sign up. I had to reset my laptop recently, so I don't think a lot of stuff's in here yet. Super annoying because it, I guess, black screened on me. I don't know if that's a term. It didn't blue screen, it just like came to a black screen and was just like, womp womp, your computer's broken, but it's fine. It will either automatically put in the code or URL, I don't know, the search term for that material, and it'll pop up here. Or you can, like it showed on the web browser, to copy it and then you just paste it in here and it'll come up and you can click and drag it and it'll load it in. If it's one you haven't used before, it might take a little while. So, boom. So yeah, BlenderKit, Node Wrangler, and Wrigglify. 2 of those are already in there. Just take them. BlenderKit, just go to this. Oh, sorry, BlendKit. Blend. It sounds like I'm saying Blender. BlendKit. Yeah, go to their site. They have very easy how-to on there. It gives you little videos and shit. The only other one I could think of is ANT Landscape, which I think I had to get through the internal extensions tab in Blender because it wouldn't install on the new one when I did it manually, so you can do it that way. You can search it up on Blender extensions, spell like ant, A-N-T with the dots. This one, you go into meshes, you get landscape. And so basically it gives you landscape tools so that you don't have to sculpt it by hand necessarily. And you can sort of randomize them and you can go to different kinds and just keep randomizing until you find one that you're after. Great tool when you're trying to just create a little background. I don't see the point in necessarily sculpting things by hand all that much. It's not something I do too often. Unless I'm doing like fleshy stuff, then I'll probably do a bit of sculpting, but I'm definitely not a professional digital sculptor by any means. Oh, sorry, I was wrong. It's Blender 5.1.2. I think I've used all versions of Blender. I started working in it like years and years ago. Dinosaur time. So, I mean, I think you can still happily use a lot of the 4 versions. 3.6 is also fine. Ones earlier than that, probably there's a much bigger difference, but they're all usable. You can still access any of the earlier versions if it's something that isn't compatible with your PC or laptop or Mac. You can access them. So yeah, first and foremost, you can download it from blender.org. So it has 5.1.2 as the main installer, but you can still access quite a lot of the old ones. I think it's through Blender LTS. Oh no, that's, oh, here we go, previous versions. So you can go through the requirements. It can go through what you need, has a list that you can go to like this, and it has every version. And it's still easy to download it through there. It's just that they don't update a lot of those older versions anymore. It's just things like some of the add-ons get updated. Like some of these haven't been updated too often. The themes, things like that. Yeah, back to 4.2 I think is fine for a lot of the things I'm going to be doing. Don't know a ton of the newer features. I know that a lot of stuff's changed with Blender, but okay, so when you open Blender, you'll mainly be using the general file. I do use the video editing, which is a great, free tool. You don't have to be stuck with like iMovie or have to pay for Adobe. There's certainly a lot of features it misses, but for basic shit, I think use the video editor, it's great. I use a lot of the stuff that I do. I'm using a mouse for this. I do often use just a trackpad or mouse pad, I don't know what to call it. Yeah, as I said, I'm using a laptop. This is a fairly new, the Asus TUF 2024, 2025, I can't remember. But I do have older laptops that I use. I still work with a lot of Blender. I've tried using it on, I'm not too familiar with Mac, but I did get a 2017 MacBook Air a little while ago just to have like a little admin laptop, and it actually supported Blender 3.6, I think, pretty well. For the most part, it did end up sort of crashing it completely, like the laptop, when I tried to do beveling, but it still worked for pretty basic things, and the add-ons and themes still worked for 3.6, so I think you can go back pretty far with anything that I might be doing. You don't have to use a new one. I just thought I'd try it out because my laptop can support it, so why not? I will one day be a PC owner. So you start out with a cube, a camera, and a point light, I think. As with anyone, you delete everything when you start. So you can just click and drag. You can also press A, which selects all, and you can press X to delete. If you want to add something into your scene, because like this is your scene, you use this guy up here to rotate, or your mouse. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate around, scrolling, and then obviously you can click things, but middle mouse does the same thing as this guy. This is your 3D scene. The way that it's sort of folded up, like it doesn't go out too far, you can change that view if you're doing something bigger. We won't need that right now. The basic thing that you need to know is to put anything into your scene, you press Shift A to add. You've got your meshes, and add text in. Grease pencil we will be using. That's what I forgot. So I don't know if some versions already have this and you won't need the add-on, but it's called GP to curve, I believe. Grease pencil to curve is what it's called. I think some versions of Blender just do this. You don't necessarily have to. And it's changed now, so I'll have to figure out. Grease pencil allows you to just draw in 3D space. This allows you to create it into a curved structure. And then you convert that to an object. I'm sure there's a lot of people that will give you a better rundown on how to use Blender for beginners, but this is the best I can do. So Shift A is for all your basics to add in, things like meshes, things like grease pencils, curves, armature. So if you're putting in a character and you want to rig it, that's why we have Rigify, to add bones that you can animate and pose it. You can add reference images. We probably will be doing some of this stuff as well, so that I can show you how to make putting in videos and images to have working monitors and screens in your scene. So I will do that at some point. Lights, you can get into lighting. Camera is your basic one that you need to have if you're going to render it out. So this here, this is just going to tell you what you have in your scenes. So if we add the cube back, you can hover over everything and it'll tell you what it is. So for basic things, I'm just going to use Eevee. I don't use cycles really ever. I used to use it a little bit, but the way that they've updated Eevees, you basically don't need to. It's fairly similar. I always use Simplify to little things that can help your scene be less laggy, take less time to render, hopefully. If you want a transparent background, you just go to Film, Transparent. Yeah, Wireframe. You've got Object Mode, which is just the basic solid view. Then you've got your Material Preview, which will, if you put a material on it, show you. It's sort of a bit of like a simulated lighting. Then you've got the Render View, which depending on your computer, it might not work very well. I often didn't use it because a lot of the computers I used to have or used to work on in very early versions of Blender were not made for that kind of stuff. So kind of just have to see how it comes out. I'll show you what that looks like if I add in a light, let's say, so you can actually see the cube. Put a sun. These are your moving and shaping tools. So this is just your directions and rotating. So we can maybe put it there. And then if you go film, it'll show you that it is transparent. The whole background will remove it. And if you have an environment texture or anything lighting the scene that you don't want in the background, but you still need that light source, you can use transparent and you'll still have that without it coming through into the render as an actual background output. This is just when you're doing like an image or video and whatnot, which you'll have to change the settings. You can do transparent videos if you do QuickTime, and RGBA, you always need the alpha layer if you're doing the transparent render, otherwise it will not come out. Change your camera size, which also you're not going to be able to render anything unless you put a camera in, because that's what's looking at things. You can add different workspaces, they don't have to be in the same settings. So for instance, I wanted to go to camera view here, press 0, and then I can see the camera here and I can shift it into place. If you want to sort of freehand sort of do that, you press Shift tilde, and you can use game controls like your WASD, Shift to speed up, and you can kind of move the camera around where you want, flying around, and you can simulate gravity as well in Blender. If you wanted it to be sort of like a certain perspective, you go back into the Shift tilde mode, then you press Tab, and you fall. So if you have a floor, like adding in a plane, you do that. Just S to scale up, and you just drag your mouse out. If I put that under where the camera is, and then we Shift tilde tab, I'm now walking on the surface. And you can change the height and the scale of this in your preferences. Yeah, if you want to, like, you can just walk around just saying, I often do that when I'm working on larger projects. Your camera settings, and change perspective. This is also where you would set up if you're doing a 360 render for like VR or something, but I can do that in a different video. The other thing you'll need, so yeah, render's good, output you can sort of have a look at. If you want to change the frame rate, that's where you do that. I don't think I've ever rendered anything higher than 30. You don't need to, in my opinion. For your render settings, I'll probably add a video below because there is a couple that I watched to set up. Haven't actually set up this one, but to sort of make sure that it's not going to take like days. Depending on what you're doing, you might have to render for days, but the stuff that I'll be doing, you should probably having to do that. But I will link some other people who are much better at explaining these things. There's a lot of values that you can change to lower that time. Next one is world that you'll need. So if you click on this little yellow dot here, you have a couple of different options. So if I just go here, we are in transparent mode at the moment, so we'll just take that off. Right, the world, and currently it's grey. You can change that if you wanted to have just that, or if you want a color. You don't need that. So we're gonna go to this. You can do gradient texture, which creates the gradient background, light to dark, and you can change those values if you just need something quite basic. There's built-in sky textures. We don't have SunDisk available in Eevee, but it's fine, you don't need that. You can still use these settings to create these different settings, mess around with them, see if there's a certain look that you like. You know, with any setting that has this kind of background thing going on, you can just go back into render properties, film, transparent, and it'll still have the effect that was giving you on your object and scene, but removes that from your background so that you can do whatever you want with that. Something I use more often though, I don't really use sky textures and things like that. I use environment texture. So it's going to do this beautiful magenta thing. And what you're going to do is you're going to open an image. You can open any image, but the best things that you use for this is I use Polyhaven. HDRI skies. So basically most of this is free. Some of them is, you know, pay whatever. There's hundreds you can find that'll have all sorts. I have a bunch downloaded. I will share which ones I'm using whenever I'm using one. But yeah, you can just click on one, download it. It doesn't really need to be a super high res thing. It's more like the light coming from it that it's simulating here. So if I go open one, I'm sorry I can't show you the window of my files and I need to figure that out. And you just go to the image, so the one that I just showed you. There you go. So you can use that as a background, like if you go into the camera view, you can see that. You can rotate it as well, but we'll get to that, which is important. But it's kind of simulating this like natural blue sky, sunshine kind of light. Like if we get rid of that, you're still getting like a simulated sunlight. I did forget to say you don't have to be in camera mode to do the shift tilde or tab moving around. The camera's purely there of what you're actually going to see in your render. So you can hide that if it's in your way. Yeah, and again, you can go to film, transparent, still get that simulated light, but not have the background. That's kind of all the basics, I think, at the moment. So using your textures, if I go back and grab that texture from Blend Kit and we chuck it on here, you're looking at it and it's kind of like, okay, why is that the tiles are so tiny? I don't want it to look like that. You can go to the shading tab, click on your object, and a lot of stuff comes up. So this is where Node Wrangler comes up, is that it's just sort of some of the shortcuts. But this is already set up. This is not you doing a texture from scratch, but you can change this in whatever way you like. So you see how all of these are connected by mapping node? That's telling things where they go. So you can change the scale of it, which will make the X and Y is just like the directions which you get stuck. You know, this is kind of your guide, this way is X, that way is Y. You can change this into the render view if you want. See how that looks in that light. Yeah, so you can sort of, and you can add stuff in the same way that you do the scene, and you can search things up. It's all the same across the board whenever you're in any of these tabs. You use the same key bindings. Yeah. If you're someone that likes to be organized, you can come over here, rename your objects, you can add in, so I'm just right clicking on this to add a new collection. If I go, I want that plane to be separate, I'm going to call this plane collection. You can organize that however you want. Everything is customizable, like how you have your work set up. You could have more, you could have one up here, you know, you can do whatever you want. You want to get rid of these, so I'm just clicking and dragging. You do the same thing, you wait till it comes up with an arrow that says join areas, and that sort of reconnect things. Down here, this is your timeline for when you're animating. You can also change these things, so this here is your 3D viewport. If you wanted to have another one, you can do it that way. You could change that to how we were just in that shading tab up there. You could say, no, I want the shading down here. Now you have it down here. And it's the same that goes for any window that you pop up. You have this little drop down. There's lots of different things going on there. Don't worry about that too much. Some other stuff we'll be using are things like modifiers, which have different properties of how you're going to change an object. We'll get to that. My plan kind of here is that while I'm making stuff, I can sort of teach you what I'm doing. It's sort of how I learned Blender. When I first started, I was doing game design, which was very early Blender days. We kind of did like the basics of like, you know, a lot of people learn from the donut or from using the, I think it's called Suzanne, the monkey head. So you get a mesh and this like little monkey guy. As sort of a base, just if you need sort of a somewhat more complicated mesh. That thing that I just did is going here, has object mode. When you want to edit, you want this object mode, edit mode. When you want to change something, you can use the directional, magnetize this way. Use that. If you want to freeform do things, you click it and press G, and now you can move wherever you want. Escape, always escape and get out of something. Sculpt mode, you need to have a more complicated mesh, so when you go into edit mode, so I press tab to just go into that, it just has one face. So to do sculpting, you need to have a complicated mesh so where it has more faces, and you can do that through subdividing. Which press A to select all of it. Right click, subdivide, and then I've just gone to this little tab down here and added more. It probably needs to have more than that, but if we did do that and we went to a sculpting tool, you can see a little bit. I'm sort of like clicking and dragging to use whatever's up right now. And it's, you know, it doesn't look super nice, but that's because you need more faces to make it look like something. Text paint, I don't really do that very often. It's something you can do with textures, which we'll get into later, is where you can combine textures or alter them through painting them, not just through the node system. You sort of add things together through the nodes, but then those are your components to then play with by painting. Texture painting, weight painting, I'm not super familiar with. I think it has to do with animation, couldn't tell you. Materials, when you have, just click and drag that again. You're in object view, so you won't see it. You have to go to material preview or render. So this will have all your settings. If we're making, just go to get rid of that, the minus. We'll just press delete, I don't know. If you want to make your own texture, press new. This is your colors. You can add an image texture, same way we did the environment. You add an image if you wanted, like just pick it as tiling it, obviously, like you can change it, but whatever. And then you've got all your settings. This is all the same stuff like you see here in the nodes. So this is just showing you in another way what's going on with the nodes. So if you added an image, you'd see it pop up here, and you can still open it from there. Node Wrangler basically allows you to go, if you press Control T, it adds mapping and texture coordinates to that, and you change which way. We can get into that. But so that if you do open an image, you can scale it differently and do all that. It's across anything that you do. It's always going to be this shit's in this shit. You know, it all connects. You don't necessarily have to do nodes if you don't want to. Anyway, this is super boring. This is all very super boring. What I was getting at with the monkey was that there's a lot of ways to learn of like, these are the basics, this is how you do things. You get better at Blender for whatever that goal is for you. I hated learning that way. I hated doing it in the way. I feel like I didn't catch on as much as everyone else did. Maybe that's my neurodivergent brain, or maybe also hate learning that way. The way that I found, because I stopped using Blender for a long years, I stopped doing a lot of digital art, and I tried to get more into, I guess, traditional arts, but also just in general physical art stuff. And finding, since like the last few years, getting back into it, it's been a while. It's been, I want to say 6 years now, 6 years ago, of getting back into it. I found that the easiest way to learn is just to figure out what it is that I specifically wanted to do and learn how to do that, rather than here are all of the basics of Blender, here's all the tools, here's all the shit, kind of what I've been doing today. I figured I'd just try to make one, but clearly I'm not very good at that because I don't know all of Blender. I'm not familiar with the new one. Kind of gonna learn some things as I go as well. I think learning things like Blender, it's always a learning curve, which I hope isn't, what's the word? Like, I hope it's not going to stop people from being motivated to try things. I think people look at, go, oh, well, I don't know all the things about it, so I'm not going to learn it. And I feel that way too. So I think just by going, this is what I want to do, how do I do this specific thing? And then you learn how to do that. And within that, you're learning already the tools that you need rather than knowing all of the tools, because like I still don't know all the tools. I started using Blender 12 years ago, earlier than that actually, but my point is, okay, so if you wanted to make let's just do one now. I want a landscape. I want to make a natural landscape. It's like, okay, you can, I used to go through videos and like people's tutorials and things and find the specific things where they're not categorizing it specifically as like, this is beginner, this is advanced. Like, fuck that. Just do what you actually specifically want to do and learn the tools to do that. It will benefit you more than learning everything or being a beginner or being advanced or whatever. Sorry, I'm yawning and burping all at the same time. Okay, so we already put in ANT landscape. Let's add one in. So just gonna scroll in. I can also use these tools up here to like move around. So I'll just go back to object so I can actually see it. Ugly, don't like it. I want a canyon. No, I don't. Do I? No. I want. Let's do a lake. Let's go like that. Let's do the seed thing. What I was thinking in my head, which I don't always know what I'm thinking in my head. It's just I don't always know what's going on in my head because I forget the name of it, but I know some people don't see things in their mind, and some people, which people consider like a majority of people, to see very clearly and like clear visualizations in their head. I get flashes. I don't have full images. And they're not constant, it would just be like random flicks. So, it'll work with that. Alright, so there's a river. This sucks. I don't know what I was thinking of. Like Gully? Yeah, let's do Gully. Gully's kind of fun. Alright, we'll just random through. Here we go. Alright, I'm gonna scale this up. Just gonna pick a side, add a camera. So in my head, it's like you're watching a video to be like, this is what we're doing. And more professional people will have their key bindings on. I will do that, just not right now. Into camera view. Nice. Oh, I have another one. Whoops. My bad. So here to set active camera. This one. I want it to look like you're a person standing there. I'm just gonna go. So cool. You've learnt landscape, putting a camera there. That's the scene at the moment. We want to add a texture. Alright, let's find a texture. Like some of the grass textures are shit. I usually use moss textures. Looks alright. I don't feel like I need to really mess with it. But what I will say is the way it's been kind of slow is because most likely like oh shit. So there are so many different things going on. First and foremost, you basically are never going to need a displacement, especially if it has a normal map. So this like purpley blue thing, they already have several other bumps which do the same sort of thing. I don't know what the hell's going on. But yeah, we don't need to add a displacement for this specific thing. So just drag it off. You don't need that. People can argue differently. My opinion is you don't really need it. Very rarely will you ever need that. You can often simulate it in a different way that doesn't need to be done through that, but I feel like makes everything slow. Just always found that. Okay, so green. Cool. We already added that sky texture, but I don't want that one. I want a different one. Just gonna have a look. Let's go with this one. I will link the ones that I'm using. So maybe I want to add a bit of extra light. Maybe I want to add a sun so that there's a bit more of that extra light in that darker area. Cool. What else do we want? I don't know, I want to make a TV. Let's make a TV. So you don't always have to make things. You can also find, rattling too close. You can go to a site called TurboSquid. There's one in there. TurboSquid. There's plenty of sites. I think you can also get models from Blend Kits or whatever. TurboSquid has a pretty great range. I will make a TV so we can also do that, but if you wanted to, I know a lot of them have price. Just go to the search, go lower prices. and you will find many. And you could always go to a low poly one if you need, change the formats if you need, like if you want specifically something that's is going to work with Blender. You could either ask them to give you a Blender file or an OBJ. Like, you don't have to do those things, like basically most things will work. How about we just use a model for now, and I will make a TV for a different video. I will do that. So download this one if you have an account. I'm assuming I'm logged in. I am. Good thing I have no idea what that went. There it is. Okay. So show all. We're just gonna get the object. Don't really need file, like full Blender file. And I think you can just drag and drop into scene. Otherwise, you can go to Shift A. What am I saying? File, import, wavefront. I always thought it was wavefront object. And then the pop-up will come up. Files. And you just click on it and import it. And hello, there it is. It's really small and far away. So I'm gonna pull it closer. And I'm gonna make it big screen. Cool, so we've got the TV. We want it to be textured like a TV. You can see here that they have some stuff. I don't have the textures from them. It might be on there, but that's fine. We can just go find our own. I used to have a TV like this one. It had kind of a black plastic case. Plastic. I don't know. Try one of these. Here. And we just drag onto. Let it file. let it load the name. So I'm just gonna move that texture up, and then I'm gonna get rid of it, so it's gonna combine into the top one. I don't really care about putting another texture there right now. I remember that BlendKit had a screen texture, but we can always make it like an actual light up screen. But you know, cool. And then we go to render image, and it will pop up as a window, which I will try to show you. Boom. And I think trying to just do things that way, where like if you were watching a video or if you're going to be doing things with me, to just like, I'll try to be better at explaining what I'm doing, and I will put key bindings on screen, have anything that I'm using in there can be linked below, so you don't necessarily have to go and search for these things. I feel like it might be a better way to learn, at least if your brain's like mine, and you kind of have like a vague idea of what you want to do, or like kind of maybe an image of what you want to do, but you don't know how to get there, just to learn the specific things that are required to get there, to do that thing. There's tons more to learn. I think I'm just gonna make some shit. I'll make some mini tutorials that are not as shit as this. So just some like random things I can show you how to actually make a TV and how to make the screen work if you want to have a video playing or like an image on it, and make it sort of like the light's coming from there and it's sort of simulating that in the scene. Playing with textures, maybe make some weird shit, and also do some like avatar building, which will be between using Daz 3D, which is another thing I can sort of make a video like this if it's at all helpful, or just completely chaotic and useless. I don't know. Yeah. I think I'm gonna stop recording now. I don't have an outro. If anyone's there, thanks. Love you. I will make some hopefully better quality things soon. I'm kind of more interested in using this space to just make my art and show you how I'm doing those things, and sort of make it more like a hangout space, I guess. But within that, have it a bit tutorial-like of learning specific things rather than the basics, because this was not. I think I'm gonna stop recording now. I don't have an outro. If anyone's there, thanks. Love you.